Quite surreal.
It's just being like, being in a studio. You should come to the Qatar studio. I'll take you next time they're doing a song. As soon as you enter, you just feel your vocals have changed. Like
But it dampened the sound just like that.
big time. Like automatically when you enter the studio, not even in the recording booth, just in the studio itself, the acoustics are like they have this triangle shaped sponges across the
Yeah,
whole room
that they
that
just dampen
does
and absorb the
dampen
sound.
absorb the sound. And you'll be like, oh wait, is my throat the right thing?
Yeah, but air pressure, I mean, humidity also influences your
Yeah,
voice.
big time. And so now it feels like you do not have what do you call it? Like you feel sick, or like it sounds like you're sick, like you got a heavy throat. But interesting.
Yeah. Well,
This is very
this is the first time we're doing something. I mean, finally sitting down together and doing it, and especially, well, today's very special because guess what is today?
Today is Thursday. Thursday, the third day of Summit, Web Summit
But
Qatar 2024.
it's not just Thursday. It's Thursday 29th
Oh, Thursday, the 29th of
of Feb.
February.
So it's a leap day.
Indeed, leap day. Once every 4 years. I wonder how many people are celebrating the birthdays today.
Yeah,
That'll be
I bet they
interesting.
alternate. One year they do 28th, one year they do 1st of March.
So, do you think if someone was born in the late 80s, they would not be 30 something, they would be 20 something right today? It's good for them to feel younger at some point in age, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean, the Thursday. There's a lot that has happened, especially since the opening night of the Web Summit.
I, I, I wouldn't say just from the beginning of the opening summit. I would say a week rolling into the Web Summit itself. The anticipation building, people not being sure of what Web Summit is going to offer to them. What do they have in hand? What can they expect? What can investors expect? What can attendees expect?
Yeah.
Because they had no idea. Like and this is the first time like you and me have been here like let's say 15 plus years at least in the country, me being here for way longer, and we have seen events. We have seen the World Cup, we have seen the Asia Cup, we have seen the Asian Games. They bring people, but these people, yeah, you got fans, you got different kinds of interests for different kinds of people coming down here. But this was purely for the tech industry, purely for the digital era, what Qatar is
I mean,
embarking on.
I've been to CES, I've been to South by Southwest, I've been to Mobile World Congress. I mean, tech events, when they speak about it, they usually think it happens in Europe or the Americas as such. And when they've done events usually here, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't captivate my mind and everything. But the fact that the government of Qatar partnered up to open and start a Middle East chapter of Web Summit here, and especially during this pivotal time, I will say hands down, it's been great. Like literally, I've been looking forward to this event. I mean, I had to either pick between this or Mobile World Congress, but I was like, you know what, this is on my doorstep.
Yeah, and and we are no strangers to such events
Yeah.
in Qatar. Either be sports, either be fashion, either be jewelry, either be tourism. But even if you remember, pre-COVID era, it just feels like ages ago.
Yeah.
We had the KidCom,
Yeah.
which was run by ICT Qatar to an extent. It did offer a much more interactive or a retrospective to what Qatar has to offer in terms of digital industries. Although we didn't have much of an international presence in those conferences, but it still gave an insight to people. But now suddenly opening the door to the world with Web Summit Qatar, and being part of the other Web Summits. So now imagine when this was coming here, everyone was talking about Web Summit Lisbon, everyone was talking about Pulse, everyone was talking about the one in Hong Kong, the one in Brazil, in Rio. Now, when people go to those conferences, they'll speak about, hey, Web Summit Qatar. Something happened there. And just like last night, I was watching my tweets and stories this morning. People are shocked or in awe, I would say, that they felt like there was an amazing fireworks show last night. There was a drone show.
I missed that.
You missed it. It was supposed to be at 10:30. Some people who knew they went to the beach, got a front step access. I have a lovely video that's 3 GB. I'll share it with you later for a cup of coffee, nothing less.
I'll throw in lunch.
Okay, I'll take lunch as an additional option. No worries.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what? Let's just recap because I mean, right now this is the last day. See, I counted day one as opening night, even though day one was technically Tuesday. What caught your eyes and ears on that day?
I think apart from just, I'll go from the beginning. Probably when I walked in here, I came around 2 3 p.m. beating the crowd, beating you to get in, and
There's a story you need to know. Like, Khan was actually inside before many other people while I was sitting outside. So he had exclusives.
there were some exclusives. I was quite in demand as soon as those exclusives were required or made requested by people. Luckily, I was in early and I saw all the booths were covered up, but could still see what is to come for the next 3 days. I just came down, center stage, sat down, and suddenly I just turned around. Everyone's getting up and like, what's happening? I look around and see His Highness the Amir. He popped by before the show opened to anyone. He wanted to see what's happening. As you know, the government itself, leading with the leadership of His Highness Amir, has been pushing forward towards digitizations, towards, we'll talk about the digital 2030 vision at the end of the session, but like they have been pushing forward to. So it was nice of him to come, visit some key booths, as we've been seeing some announcements, which we'll talk about later on as well. And then just opening night itself. And the opening night, you were there as well, like, Trevor Noah, Catherine Mayer speaking and having a couple of interesting talks as well. But what caught my eye most was for them to begin their evening as you would go to any musical show, like, say Taylor Swift, The Weekend, Coldplay. You always have certain local artists opening the performance of the night. It could be a radio jockey, it could be a famous DJ from the city itself. It's to give, like, an appearance to the people, like, hey, you have talent in your country itself. And that's what caught my eyes of the 6 startups that started day zero or day one of the summit before the actual opening ceremony that spoke about what they're doing. It ranged from economic, e-commerce, analytics platforms, and to humanization of many things where people think everything's moving towards artificial intelligence. And that was, I think, more like eye-catching to me. Of course, the interesting, opening speech from Trevor Noah on when he said the technology mobile phones went from this to this.
Oh, I remember. They're like the old Sony
Yeah, I'm
Ericsson.
like,
I don't
so
remember.
lyrics, and even remember the Nokia communicator
Oh, yes.
that would open up.
That was popular for a while, but it just.
very popular. And I think there was another Nokia that came out that was like chunky. You slide down, and the keys would be
Yes.
inside.
But it looked very fancy.
Oh, it was heavy as well. I used
Yeah.
to have one of those, but it was something, and like that's where people are connecting. I think that's what Web Summit Qatar is doing, connecting people to what was in the past, what's in the current, and what is to come in the future. What do you think? How you felt about the opening night?
And the opening, I think, was like it set the stage for especially the overall theme of the event. I mean, like you mentioned, it's AI. I mean, remember when OpenAI just launched ChatGPT and everyone else in 1 year just started deploying, just catching up and everything. And even now, I think this year, I mean, remember what Neil Patel said yesterday, like 2024 is still going to be the year of AI. I mean, if you go back to the opening nights, the breakout starters they featured, I mean, we did see one from Qatar.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he described it was like the Salesforce for SMBs.
Indeed, and it was very nice. Although he's based here, I will say he's a very good friend of mine, Varun. High level.
Khan knows people.
I'm sorry. You need to know people. That's how things work. Not, but you know them to be their friends. Not to know them to get things done. Know them to be friends. And there was a good quote that Patrice Evra said. I will come to it a bit later in the podcast. But know people so you can develop on them. You can learn from them. You can get to know them. Same goes with me and Yasser. We started off as Yasser had just finished his university, Carnegie Mellon, back in, I would say, 2010, 2009. 11 when we first met. And I remember the very first the Doha Tribeca Film Festival where Yasser was volunteering and working with the media team. And I have some photos. Maybe I'll pull up and we'll put as in between this.
Embarrassing.
Not embarrassing. I mean, so we all have grown.
Yeah.
And what I mean to say is that friendships have grown on top of that, and only these friendships that have grown have cultured further relationships, further bonds that you cannot disconnect anymore in today's current day and age.
Well, I mean, with the startups and now the whole theme set. I mean, let's go to they technically say day one, but I think for us it was like our day two, which was Tuesday. Uh, some of the things that actually caught my eye and attention were like so many. I'm just trying to remember where to start because the first day was so
It
hectic.
was hectic. Like the amount of people that just rushed in as soon as the gates opened up. The speeches that we had, like highlighting Queen Rania, to say so. Even our Bollywood star Noora Fatehi, the Warner Group CEO. They all had interesting takes on where, although these individuals are from different walks of life, they their workspace or their work era of doing things is completely different. But what they are doing with technology, how is technology influencing their work, how are they utilizing technology in their day-to-day activities, helped us like understand, like when we look at stars, let's say we look at Tom Cruise and we wonder like, oh, what would he be doing in his free time? Maybe he's watching Netflix. Maybe he's looking for companies that he needs to invest in and make the best of what everyone wants to invest, invest, invest. So we never know, and this is interesting tactics.
Another thing I just remembered was Amazon's CEO was actually on stage, and they got on the whole AI aspect, especially something they call Rufus.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, well, not funny, but Ronaldo gave a nice explanation demoing it. It's like, okay, you want headsets, but I want them small and comfortable so they don't fall off, and it helps me to listen to this kind of music. So he described like, okay, Rufus, I'm looking for headsets that would be tailored made for me to listen to this kind of music. And he said it gave him some recommendations, and he apparently tried it, and so far he's been happy with it. So it's like they want to use AI to help augment your shopping decisions in a way, which is good because suddenly it's like, let's say you and I are going to be if we were to shop for a tech conference and we have to go and cover it, suddenly if we feed it into Rufus, they might tell us you need a microphone, you need tripod.
And this is, I think this is where we are in the current day and age, where planning, creating itineraries even for simple things, let's say just for the conference, or having reminders, like it could, like Rufus could tie into Alexa, and like by the
Yeah.
time before you leave home, like Alexa reminds you like, hey, have you taken the SD card that you need for this, like you reminded me like, hey, don't forget the SD card. Imagine having those assistive technologies, like we currently do with shopping. So
Yeah.
the Amazon stores, like you go pick up your stuff, you just walk out and it knows what you're doing. Imagine that in your day-to-day life. And on that concept, I would actually ask you a question. Do you think, would it make our lives easier or would it make us lazier?
It's a yin and yang situation, in my honest. I mean, I think it's like we have to keep balance and checks onto it because yes, use AI to get the more mundane task or something which is more challenging, like especially how they remove objects from photos and videos and everything. Great, let AI do that because at least it's learned all that and does it without even you knowing about it. But also making themselves lazy is like, yeah, if you start over relying on it, it's gonna be like that movie Wally, where they're all wearing.
Yeah, exactly. I think this was a sample given by in one of the center
I
stage.
remember which one, but yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
it was like, so you remember Wally, where everyone is just bringing things to you, and you become lazy. Yes, a certain need that you have is being met, but we as humans still, like have certain things we need to do, keep ourselves fit, keep ourselves active. We need to be doing those things, and I'm sure, like I don't want to say every industry, or maybe majority of the industries are working towards providing services to you which fit your criteria. But then maybe sports might pick up someday, or gym memberships. It's like, hey, you don't need to go to the gym. Get an Apple Vision Pro, put on, shows you the videos and exercises that you need to do, and you just keep doing it yourself, and it tracks all your calories burning, your muscles, and etc. etc.
I mean, when I start thinking back to day one, I was like, I just remembered. I just remember something from the opening night where they announced that $1 billion. That was like, I'm like, wow, that's a big way to start off to help support.
And that is not just an announcement, but also to catch eyes and ears of every investor, every entrepreneur, or everyone who might not have started working on something. There's like, what, Qatar just announced a $1 billion investment in to support its startup and entrepreneurial ecosystem. I'm going to go back home, research what's out there, and build something. I don't need $1 million. Like maybe $50,000 would do for me to create an app that services something that does not exist. And every single technology that we're seeing here, or apps that we're seeing here, or companies, they didn't exist 5 years ago, 2 years ago, some of them even 3 years ago. Last night, you and me met an interesting individual, Mr. Ahmed, who went to a conference, learned about something that's happening. He came down, made his own version of the Middle East, and he's making 100 million reals.
Yeah, I mean,
It
sometimes
took
you
him
have to.
3 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the good thing is that yeah, he failed, but then he succeeded. So it just took him, and that's something I realized that everywhere else you can embrace failure, but I think still the region hasn't come to accept like it's okay to fail. Otherwise, they always just think invest. Okay, when am I getting my returns? I was like, come on, it's you have to play the long game.
People do have to play the long game. People have to wait it out, have some patience, find the right people to work with. Because let's say you make an app that's gonna say, "I for the coffee lovers in the world." I love my coffees, For the coffee lovers in the world, I can't go out without them. And I have a specific need for certain beans, certain brands that are like just that nothing exists currently to tell where a specific bean is coming from, what bean has what characteristics. Like everyone goes to all the fancy places like, oh, I want organic coffee, I want this, and like we have lavender cappuccinos now, which I do not know make any sense. But this is where, like, you could pick up, and that could just be an idea that I just talked about. Like, hey, okay, I'm going to have an application that just says information. It doesn't need to do any service. Or, like, the MVP of that could be, okay, you like these beans, okay, there are these companies around you that offer these beans that you can go bake them, grind them to your requirement, and make your own coffee pods that you can use in a coffee machine.
I mean, let's also think. Let's move ahead, especially to yesterday. I mean, yesterday was like God, and I'm trying to remember everything that happened yesterday. I mean, especially it's like I was jotting down notes. That's not even I'm trying to go through my
Yeah,
notes
there's
here.
there's lots happening. I'm like, even the app that we have for the summit,
Yeah.
it's so busy. Like this morning itself, I have like about 25 notifications, people wanting to meet, where when our sessions that we want to attend are starting. I'm like, this app has been very helpful for us here. I really give kudos to the Web
Yeah.
Summit team for having this out.
Oh, here's the one thing. Oh yeah, now I just thanks for reminding me for the app because I think you mentioned you attended the one for Striver about a social platform that's not for abuse.
Yes, I attended that. I'm just going to quickly pull up that on my list, just because I want to give the name that it had for itself. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. I think it was called revolutionizing. Wait. Yeah, it was called revolutionizing social media. Striver by Tim Chase. It was a roundtable. It was very interesting, and they also had their co-founder Gilberto Silva, who was a World Cup player, if not a World Cup winner. I might stand corrected, but we'll just look that up. We did have a small group of people who were from the media industry or into sports, and it was very interesting to see that they have roughly about 200,000, 300,000 followers now. They currently focus currently only on football. In the 6 to 9 months, they're going to come about into the music and the film industry. But the main thing this application or the social app does is they remove anything that has to do with abuse. So, like, all sports, like we get upset, we start saying stuff, football, and I think cricket to an extent in either of the countries in the Europe or in the Asian continent. When you get upset, you say things, and a lot happens, and that moves online. It's usually offline, like, on a page after the game, but at points, like, we've seen recently so many people walk off
Yeah.
football pitches because it's not fair. And what this application is, what Striver does, is it catches that when you, let's say something, let's say you tweet or you put a video, you share a comment, you put a poll, and it removes the abusive words from it. It does not action anything as such, and it does not take that hate from offline to online. It is creating a engagement platform for people to come just share and talk. And apparently, they've signed up quite a few popular footballers from different leagues and football clubs who are, having that fan base over there engaging, and it is working amazingly well.